One of the most confusing concepts for me ever was the law of detachment. I never understood. And you know what was the most frustrating thing about it is that I knew that it worked. I knew that it worked. I could see it in my own life. The times where I didn't care if how something happens or I didn't even think of it. Crazy things happen, miraculous things happen. So to me, that was always confusing. So how am I supposed to detach from things? Like, how am I supposed to be ambitious but at the same time not want certain things and pretend like I don't care and stop thinking about them? And when I do that, it just doesn't work because you have to genuinely not care. But how do I not care when I care so much that I want to not care? Do you know what I mean? So probably you've been in the same situation. I think this is like the case for everyone. It wasn't until I realized this, and this has genuinely changed the course of my life. Okay, I think it's, of course, many factors that come into play. There isn't one like miracle solution to everything. But today I'm gonna break down a concept that has just changed my brain chemistry. And it's about like a quote that I once came across from this one YouTuber that genuinely just, I had to stop in my tracks and be like, whoa, you're right. And I've never been the same ever since. Me not implementing this concept has lost me years of my life. So today I'm gonna break it down. The first concept is to not have the black and white thinking. And this is where the very most important thing comes into place, which is the concept of the real goal and the shadow goal. Say you have a goal, okay? I'm gonna write everything down because this is how I do things. So you have a goal, right? Okay. So here you have a goal. So the one in the middle, this is the AG. So this is the apparent goal. This is the goal that you tell yourself you have. This is the goal of like, I want to make X amount of money. I want to date X person. I want to do X thing. I want to go to X place. So that was the apparent goal. It's the goal that you write on a paper. And the shadow goal is the real emotional goal that you're trying to achieve by achieving the apparent goal. Okay? Every goal that we have has an ulterior motive. Most often than not, like 90% of the time, we're not aware of the shadow goal, which is the most important goal. So for example, say you want to you want to have a certain job. Your goal is that job. Maybe that's your dream since you were a kid. But because you are so attached to this apparent goal, like you want to be, I don't know, like a doctor, because you are so attached to this word, because it's been the same goal since you were a kid, you don't even want to consider that what you really want is not to be a doctor, but rather to something more, like maybe status, maybe you want to help people, maybe you want something more. So in theory, like if you could become any worker in healthcare, you could achieve that, internal goal of like helping people. You could even choose a whole different career path, not in health, and still achieve the shadow goal. But because you are so attached to the apparent goal, you don't even look at the shadow goal, which is what you really like, the real emotional need that you want to fulfill. Say you want to date a person, you have a crush on a person. We tend to think in black and white. We think that this person is our soulmate. We start to tell ourselves lies like, this is my soulmate, this is the person that, that, like, it's meant for me, like God sent them to me, or just bullshit, right? When in reality, the reason why you're attracted to people is because they embody an aspect of yourself that you can't integrate into your conscious. This is Jungian psychology. Could theoretically do everything, but because there are aspects of ourselves that this is how we identify, like saying, for example, I am an introvert. You could be an extrovert, you could be a very outgoing person, but because you don't identify as that person, the extroversion trait is in your shadow, so you can't integrate it. You can't actually act like an extrovert because you're not going to feel like yourself, and you're not going to know how to do it, and you're going to feel so weird, and it takes so much energy, so you can't do it. So you will be attracted to people who are the opposite of you, attracted to extroverts, because you think that by proximity to that person, you could fulfill the needs that could only be fulfilled through being an extrovert, like having a good social circle or not being lonely. So you think that by association with a person who's the opposite of you, you could fulfill the purpose of that personality trait that you can't do yourself. So this is why we are attracted to people. But of course, you don't want to tell yourself that. Instead, you want to tell yourself, oh, this person is just like so special and I'll never find someone like that. That is a lie. So that is the apparent goal, is you want to date a certain person. The shadow goal is that you want to integrate a certain part of yourself, but you don't know how to do it. So you want to rely on somebody else to be able to reap the benefits of that trait without having to do the work. So this is just examples of apparent goal versus real shadow goal. And this concept has changed my brain chemistry, because I remember many years ago I had a certain goal and I was so attached to it that when it didn't work, I have spent years of my life trying and failing, trying to win a battle that I can't win. And I have wasted years of my life being depressed, feeling frustrated, losing hope in everything, when in reality I could have just chosen option B. And that is where the ego comes into place. Is there are option B and option C and option D and option E and endless options, but you are so attached to the apparent physical goal that you don't think about the real goal that you want to feel inside, that you just are attached for years. So say like you want to get to destination X destination, right? And you take one route. When you find like a tree in the middle of the street, do you like spend the entire night trying to move the tree and it doesn't want to move, and so you try to force yourself and it doesn't work, and so you go through the forest and then you get into danger? No, you just turn back around and you go and explore another route, option B, right? Yeah, so sometimes the best, wisest thing you could do in a situation is to give up and to try another way, to put your ego aside and try option B. And you are probably doing this in your own life, where you have certain goals and you're too attached to the physical thing. And this is where detachment comes in. When you take the list of everything that you want to achieve and you put an arrow and you think, well, what do I actually want to do? Like, when I want this person or I want this thing, what is it about me emotionally, deeply, that I want to fulfill? And you have to sit down and be very raw and honest with yourself. Once you can identify those things, try to find other options. Oh, I want to get married, but you're so stressed because you're 30 and you think that's like the end of the world if you don't get married by 30, because everybody does. And ask yourself, like, by this marriage, instead of like just taking the basic thought of like everybody gets married, it's just what someone does in society, ask yourself, like, what do I actually want from marriage? Is it an ego thing? Is it just to be able to be like everyone else? Or is it like maybe a sense of community? Maybe you want to build a family. Then ask yourself, what are the different options? There isn't just marriage for that. You could achieve a sense of community through friendships. Like nowadays we just like neglect the importance of friendships. We are taught to be like suspicious of friends, or like expect that people will just betray us, and instead put so much attention on romanticism and center romanticism in our lives. Like, women are male centered and even certain men are female centered. Like, everyone just centers romanticism in their life when they just put aside the importance and depth of friendships, just how much life a friendship could give to you. You could build a community. You could do it through your work. Like, there are just endless ways. You could build a family through like adopting kids. Like, there's just endless of ways to have that feeling of community and not just the family. When you realize that there are endless of ways and there's an abundance of ways you could achieve your goal, you're gonna finally realize that you will achieve your goal. If option A doesn't work, then option B will work. If option B doesn't work, then I'm gonna try option C. And most of the time, most people like maximum option C will work. Like, you won't even go to option D. The most important thing is you don't stick to option A. You go to option B, option C, and then there comes the concepts like in the law of attraction and detachment. You have to believe that your goal is already achieved. Like, you will achieve it. There's no other option. That's because it's the truth. To me, it never clicked. I'm like, what do you mean, like the waves in the universe? That doesn't mean anything. I can't see these waves. Like, how am I supposed to believe this woo-woo thing? Like, but when you actually realize that it's the most logical thing in the world, that the real goal deep down is there are endless of ways. Literally, God has created the world just for you to achieve your human needs, which are always like the shadow goals. God has created the universe just for you to do that. So ultimately, you're gonna achieve it. The only thing that you have to detach from is option A. When you realize that there isn't just option A, there's B, there's C, there's endless ones. If there's an infinity of ways to achieve something, then you will achieve the thing. You have already achieved the thing by logic, okay? So this is the first concept of like, you have achieved it because you realize the real goal is actually a human need that you are meant to achieve. It's meant for you by your existence, okay? And then when you get into like the mindset of like there are endless of options, then you are in the state of abundance because there's an abundance of options. Sure, when you're only focused on one option, then there's only that one option. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Then that's scarcity. But when you realize that there's an abundance of options, then you are in an abundance mindset, right? And when you realize that if this option doesn't work, then you can try another option, then you detach from this option naturally. You don't have to try to pretend like you're not thinking about it. You will just not, by nature, not think about it. And suddenly everything in your life will be so much easier. I think that in this life, like, we are supposed to enjoy it. We're not supposed to overthink. Like, you just have to do the things that you know you should do. Like, logically, you have to work hard, you have to learn, you have to do everything. But then everything else that is not in your control, you are not supposed to think about it. God will do it for you. It's the same thing as like kids are born, like, in a normal childhood. A kid is not supposed to think about food or taxes or the home. Like, the kid's task is to enjoy their life, to go outside and play with their friends. And the second task is to sometimes have some self-discipline and do things that they don't want to do, like sleep early or do homework for school, like occasionally. But then the rest of the time you just enjoy. We think like a kid has to overthink about taxes. No, the parents take care of it. It's the same way for an adult. An adult is just a bigger kid. As an adult, you have to do certain things you don't want to do, like go to your job and try. But then you also have to enjoy your life, and that's it. Everything else that is not meant for you to control, you can't control it. You will never figure it out, and you're not supposed to think about it at all. So yeah, I hope this video helped you. Now what I want you to do is not to scroll to another video. I want you to stop, put your phone down, take a paper, write every single goal that you have in your life right now, and put an arrow and say like, what is the deep goal that I want to achieve? What human need am I trying to really fulfill through this goal? And then put different arrows with different options. You could do this, and suddenly once you open your mind to the different options and you put your ego aside, not get attached to just one thing, and not seeing quitting as a failure. Quitting is not always a failure. Sometimes quitting is the biggest success you could do. I'm not telling you that you should give up and not try at all. What I'm telling you is to not be attached to just one option, one path. There are endless paths to get to the same destination, just like there are endless apparent goals to get to the same shadow goal. I advise you to do what I just told you to do, and thank you for watching. Please comment and tell me your experience. If you have another understanding of this concept, or if you want to add another idea, I would love to hear about it. I may even make a video next time about it. So thank you for watching, and follow me for more content like this. I am on my journey of bettering my life and building myself up from the ashes. I am by no means a teacher. I know that I'm giving advice, but I don't want to be a teacher. I am a student myself. So if you want to embark on this journey of being students together and learning new things every single day and breaking down concepts and trying to apply them, this is my goal. I want to build a community of like-minded people who want to build themselves up from the ashes. So let's do it together. Follow me.